Welcome to The Third Chair, a show about real people, real stories, real life. And here are your hosts for The Third Chair, Peter Grigg and Doug Bazeski.
I don't think we've ever had a comedian on the show before.
Well, you try to be, but it's
Yeah, I am not very funny compared to our next guest.
Oh, he's
and
funny.
He's also a cowboy comedian. So, I mean, like, do they make jokes about, like, piles of horsey dung or what?
Cowboys find him very funny.
Very funny, yes.
Yeah.
Our next guest, if I read the production memo correctly, is Chad Hutto, who is a cowboy comedian, but also has a very interesting background in law enforcement and trucking and working on a ranch. So let's think of what questions would we ask a cowboy?
Yeah, because we only got like 2 minutes.
Yeah, we better start ready quickly.
Yeah.
Please, we're going to welcome special guest Chad Hutto.
Welcome to The Third Chair. We have a special guest start this week, Chad Hutto. He told me how to pronounce his name, so hopefully I got it mostly right.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
We'll make sure to do that. He is a comedian we are going to have on this show later on, where he's going to do stand-up for 10 minutes in one of our segments instead of our regular segment. And so we're looking forward to that. And do you have like a person whose style you take after when you do comedy?
What really got me wanting, Rodney Carrington was my comedic hero, if you will. I was introduced to comedy due to a bad situation in my life to another comedian. But anyway, when I decided I wanted to start doing comedy, Rodney's kind of who I modeled my shows kind of after him. My content is not as much like his. It used to be, and it can be, but for the most part, it's not. But that's pretty much who, I guess you could say, led me to wanting to do comedy.
And what is your style? How do you differ from Rodney?
Well, Rodney's shows are pretty much 18 and up, and mine, I try to keep it at least a PG-13 level. So I like doing shows for families. I do, shows for company organizations, benefits, nonprofit organizations. So my crowds really vary. I can have, I can be the youngest one in the crowd, or I can be the oldest one in the building. It really don't matter. So.
Yeah. Now, in the pre-interview, we talked about cruise ships. In a cruise ship, you would be the youngest one.
Drums on the line.
Probably so. And I've never been on a cruise ship. Biggest boat I've been on was a bass boat in the middle of Lake Toledo Bend in Texas. But that I've always wanted to, and I would love to do cruise shows. I would love to do that.
If you see like the audience is older than you, do you pitch your show different or to have some different routines?
I do. I basically, whenever I write my show, I write it verbatim from hello all the way through to thank you. But I don't, it's not scripted, if you will. I don't just go in there and be like, okay, hello, thank you for letting me be here, and two white horses walked in a bar. I don't. It's not like that.
I don't think I've heard that one.
It's a dirty joke. They call it the mud. So, but I don't do that. And some of my jokes that I have in my set, I may look down and see somebody in the front row that could potentially be offended by that. And I'll just go ahead and just kind of give you an example. If I have a fat lady joke and I've got, a front row full of oversized, women, I'm not going to tell that joke because yes, it's funny and it's not talking bad about them. It's not, saying anything, like, well, you're big and you're ugly or anything like that. But I won't do that joke just for the simple fact of I don't want them You know, because they paid their money to come see me. You know, they paid money to come see me, and I'm not one of these that I don't want to do anything that's gonna make somebody leave and go, I'm never gonna go see that guy again. You know, so I try to, you know, alter my shows, if you will, to kind of fit the crowd. So I like interacting with the crowd. I like getting people to volunteer to come up on stage with me to do something. And God help them if I have a wireless mic and they don't come up on stage, I'll go after them. I'll find somebody.
Good job.
That'll show them.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I got a wireless mic and I'll make you wish to God you never set foot in here tonight. So, but yeah, I like doing that. I love interacting with the crowd, and the more the crowd interacts, the better it is for me. You know, but
It makes it more fun for everybody.
it makes it more fun for everybody, and people go home like, man, did you see that person got up on stage? You know, ain't no way I could have done that. Yeah, well, come back to the next show.
You will be on the stage.
You will be the next one. So, but yeah, I like I say, I just don't want somebody driving home going, you hear that about him? I ain't ever going. I ain't gonna go see him again. You know, I know you can't please everybody, but
Right.
I don't want anybody leaving my show going, I would rather them go, that guy sucked, than that guy really offended me. You know, I would rather them leave like that. So
did you ever have a really great someone come on stage and really click with them, or?
actually, yes. And how PG-13 are we keeping?
Yeah, pretty PG-13.
Okay, well, I won't tell about that one then. So,
Yeah,
but what I do have a deal that I'll call somebody up and I'll say, okay, I want you to repeat this statement, but you can't pronounce any of the H's. And they're like, okay. So I say, the statement is, I said, you cannot think about it. You have to spit it out right then. And the statement is, I hate happiness. And if you say that without the H's, and then they're like, they say, the cowboy, I mean, this was a big guy. He was like, I ate happiness. I was like, what? He said, I ate happiness. I said, slow it down. I ate happiness. I said, you ate what? I ate, oh my God. And he walked, of course, then the place goes crazy, you know. And so, and like if there's, you know, tables, this particular show was there was tables there. And I was asking for volunteers. Of course, everybody's pointing at, you know, somebody at the table. And I'm like, you know, the table that was the most active in the pointing, I would be like, okay, how many at this table think this guy needs to go? How many at this table think this person needs to go? And then I'll include the whole group, like how many people by a round of applause thinks this guy, you know? And whoever wins the voting gets, you know, voted on the island. So
which they don't get the $1 million.
yeah, they don't get the $1 million. They just get to be embarrassed and hopefully don't beat me up in the parking lot after the show.
So how do you develop these ideas? I mean, you sit at a desk in the morning and say, well, how can I embarrass someone, or you know, what's funny in my life, or
that particular deal, somebody that I worked with actually said that. And he's like, hey, I got something I want y'all to try. And of course he knew that I did comedy as well. And he did it. And I immediately in my mind, I was like, yeah, I know what that is. So I started laughing and everybody else was like, what? So somebody finally did it. And he's like, feel free to use that. You can use that. I said, good, because I'm going to. And that was that one. But as far as like material goes, I mean, just real life situations, you know, how I've come up with it. I can be driving down the road and think, yeah, that's funny. And then I won't write it down like that's good enough. I'll remember it. And then I spend the next 3 or 4 days trying to remember it. But I got this little deal on my phone that you can, you know, the note deal, you can just type it all in there and I'll just kind of outline some things.
So the good thing about cell phones, you can write yourself a note.
But I go so many times with this thing in my pocket, and I'm like, crap, I don't have anything to write it on. So, oh, well, I'll remember it. And then it dawns on me 3 days later, like, crap, I could have put it in there, and then I would have had it. So when I was actually going through my desk last night, and I've got spiral notebooks in the drawer stacked up. It's got stuff written in them, jokes written in them. I mean, I don't have like one specific notebook that I keep all my stuff in. It is freaking scattered everywhere through several different spiral notebooks and tablets and such like that. So it's just, yeah. It's a headache to keep up with sometimes. One of these days, I'm gonna sit down and put everything together in one book. And then that way, I'll maybe have it a little easier.
Because you're making a comedy record, right?
Yes.
Of your show. Did you go through all these papers and like go, where's that really good joke? Or
Actually, I did. And what I do for that particular event, it was a big show we did in East Texas, in my hometown. I actually had a big show booked up here due to some issues at the venue, staffing issues. They pulled the plug on it. So I was actually kind of down. I was really down about that, honestly. I was like, okay, that's just a sign I need to hang it up. And then I woke up in the middle of the night one night thinking, and basically like a voice saying, if this is what you're going to do, if this is how you're going to do it, you need to include your hometown. And I knew of a venue back home. It used to be a movie theater, actually. And I was actually the first comedian to ever do anything in there in 2008, 2009. They converted it to an entertainment venue now. So it's got a stage. You've still got the big screen in the back and all that. But anyway, so I called them and they're like, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. So I said, can I record it? I said, absolutely. You can record it, video it, anything you want to do. So we got it all set up and went down there and recorded that show. That show is actually going to be released once we get it finished, mixed and put together and edited and all that. That will be released, I'm hoping, by the end of September. So, but yeah, what I did for that one is I actually had a dry erase board that I set behind one of the monitors on stage, and that was my cheat sheet, more or less. Because I mean, hour and a half show, it's hard to remember. For me, it's hard to remember all that. And so anyway, I had just the titles of the jokes written down. And so when I'm looking down at the front row, I'm actually looking down at my cheat sheets. So.
No, nothing wrong with being organized.
Yeah, no. So it's just, but that's how I remember it. A lot of people are like, man, how do you remember that? I'm like, dude, I got a cheat sheet. I got to have a cheat sheet. I can't remember all of it.
And we will find out more about cheat sheets. And the answer to this following joke: a skeleton walks into a bar and asks for two things. We'll find out when we come right back from this break. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Grigg, a life and recovery coach with Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching. I've had the pleasure and privilege of helping people for over 25 years. I want to hear your story, support and encourage you while we partner together to help you reach your goals. I can help you. I am certain I can help you. I can be your guide, role model, resource person, and help you get results. What's my coaching frameworks? I'm an eclectic coach drawing from a variety of disciplines and frameworks with evidence-based proven methods. What would you like to work on? Some popular areas are goal setting and attainment, building and maintaining motivation, finding purpose, personal development, recovery from drug and alcohol addiction problems, health and wellness, life planning, athletic and creative artists, performance enhancement, maybe something else. Just ask me. I would love to help you. You can find my services on Fiverr.com.
Welcome back, and Peter is going to finish his joke.
Well, I'm guessing that our special guest, Chad Hutto.
Slow it down.
Hutto.
There you go.
Jabba the Hutto.
Sounds more Star Warsy now.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, well, you had that saber out in your truck. Anyway, so a skeleton walks into the bar and asks for
a beer and a mop.
Yes. And just for total self-disclosure, we found that joke on the internet in about 1,000 different places.
It was www.I don't remember something. So.
Very good. Very good.
That should cover it, everybody. If you want to find more jokes like that, if you do, maybe we better not go on to comedy.
I hope that's not a website.
Did you ever get writer's block and write jokes like that?
Oh, gosh, yes. Last week, as a matter of fact, I got to a point that just where I was nothing seemed funny. I mean, I would even listen. When I get to that point, I'll listen to other comedians. And I mean, there have been times that I've taken parts of a joke from this comedian, parts of a joke from that comedian, parts of a joke from this comedian, and add a story that combines all that together. I mean, and have a totally different punchline. And I mean, none of the three jokes are related in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But I was just listening to, I mean, like some of my favorite guys, the blue collar guys, Rodney, all of them. And I mean, driving down the road, and I wasn't laughing at nothing. Nothing was funny. And I'm like, okay, that's a sign I just need to stop. And usually when I do that, it starts kind of flowing back in. It may be a week, it may be a day, it may be an hour. The longest I think I went without really writing anything has been like 3 weeks.
Ooh, wow.
So
did you start getting worried? Like
I actually did. I mean, I've got so much stuff written already. Some of it I use, some of it I don't. But I've got stuff to kind of fall back on if it comes to that. But yeah, I think the longest I went was like 3 weeks without, I mean, even putting a note in my phone or writing an idea down.
You ever go look through your papers and all of a sudden you look at it and well, that's pretty good. I don't remember it, but
I have actually. I've done that. Matter of fact, the show I did in Texas, some of those jokes were some that I had pulled out that I had written 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And was like, oh, well, forgot about that one. So, and then,
it's actually pretty good.
Yeah. and sometimes, like I said earlier, you have to alter it to fit the crowd. I mean, obviously, if I'm Cowboy Comedian, I'm doing a show in a biker bar, I've got to alter my, instead of riding a horse, I'm riding a Harley, or something like that.
Yeah. Gives the word hog a whole different name.
Yeah, exactly. Although they never did really like my Harley joke, so.
And they never did.
Yeah, it was, what's the difference between a Harley Davidson and a Hoover vacuum cleaner?
What?
You can fit 2 dirt bags on a Harley.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, that might not have fit your audience that day.
And if you like that joke, wait till our next segment.
I didn't see those guys for about 3 days, but that third day I could see a little bit out of my left eye.
Yeah. Oh man.
So, do you practice your routines at home in front of your wife and kids?
I don't usually. My kids actually tell me a lot of the jokes that I do have, and then I'll rewrite them and usually turn the punchline around on me if they don't already have it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll run some jokes by my wife and she'll go, I like that one, or yeah, that one's not funny, or oh good God, don't do that one. And those are usually the ones I do, but yeah, she's a pretty good judge of what works, and sometimes a better judge of what works than I do. But no, I don't actually sit them down and say, okay, here's the show, because I want them to be just as surprised as the others.
How old are your sons?
I got 17, 15. My 15-year-old will be 16, obviously. I mean, he may skip 16, go 17, I don't know. But he thinks he's 25. But anyway, he'll be 16 the second of next month, September. And then I've got a 13-year-old. So 17, 15, 13.
So 3 teenagers in the house.
3 teenagers. And they...
So are they creating a lot of routines for you? Just as...
Well, actually, during the lockdown last year, they got on that TikTok deal and was watching some of them videos where they had a video that come across just the sound on it, and they played it for me and my wife, and it said, if you had a choice to be locked up with or quarantined for your spouse for 2 weeks or take back your ex, and me and my wife both looked at them and said, which ex? So neither one of us wanted to be locked up with the other one. So, no, which X? If we got a choice of which X, I'm taking option B. So,
Oh, my goodness.
but yeah, they keep me on my toes, and my kids are like, don't tell jokes about me, please don't tell jokes about me, but I do.
Yeah.
As a good father that you are.
Exactly.
Do they get a piece of the action then? You tell a joke about your son, he gets a cut of the take.
He gets usually a McDonald's meal after the show.
Yeah,
So.
there you go. That's good.
That's your
Living
that's your
off the land,
commission
yeah.
and royalty right there.
Oh, wait a minute, they're 17, 16, and 13. It probably is a little expensive to take them to McDonald's these days.
You know, my wife, my youngest one, and I stopped at McDonald's the other day before his football game, and it was almost $30 for the three of us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy cow, what happened to $2 Happy Meals?
Yeah, and that's with
You
your
know,
wife and your son just getting water.
Yeah, no good. Yeah, they're proud of water.
You
up
can use
here.
that one if you like.
They're proud of water up here.
Yeah.
The only place I've ever had to pay for water was eating out up here.
Yeah. Everyone's a comedian, right?
So if your son plays football, they must eat a lot of food in the grocery bills.
He does. My oldest one is, I don't know where he got his size from. I still deny him to this day if he didn't look like me so much, or act like his mama. But he's a beanpole. And the other two are just, built like, they're solid. And it's just, I don't know. I know where the 15 and the 13-year-old get it from, but I'm not real sure where the oldest one gets it from, because everybody in my family has always been, big built, and he's just, he farts while he's walking, he speeds up a little bit. He skips a step sometimes.
Especially if someone lights a match. Yeah.
So do you have a favorite routine that you do, or?
Not really a favorite routine. What I enjoy the most is when the audience is involved. When the audience gets involved, and not a heckler. I've dealt with that. I had one at a show that just kept on and kept on and kept on, and finally I stopped the show. I said, I'm not saying another word till he leaves. And they escorted him out, and he was intoxicated. He was being just belligerent and all this, and people in that crowd were getting agitated about it. And of course, it kind of shut him up when I said, rolled right into it. I couldn't have done it better if I practiced it. I said, it's better to, sit there and look stupid than open your mouth and prove it. And he just kind of stopped. And then that kind of added a little bit more fuel to the fire. But when the audience gets involved, people, I can get volunteers to come up on stage with me, or, I can look at somebody, and, I had a lady at a show in Texas, and I was talking about something like the pre-cell phone era, and I looked at her, she's an older lady. I said, you know that time, and I'm like, I said, did they even have history when you were in school? And she, of course, everybody's laughing. I said, how did y'all write essays? With a hammer and chisel on a, So, and I enjoy doing stuff like that. And then, sometimes they'll bounce stuff back at me, and it creates a mood that just, everybody gets involved. I always hated going to concerts and stuff and just sit there, and it was just like boring, I love the music or love the show or whatever, but when we're not a part of it, it's just like you're there and they're like, okay, I got your money, bye, have a nice day. So, but as far as a favorite routine, I really don't have one.
We're gonna though see one of our favorite routines, because the next segment you're gonna do your comedy bit.
Yeah, we're gonna knock a little bit of it
forward
out.
to that.
And if you really like it, we'll let you know where you will be able to buy or get more.
What?
You're gonna have to wait though to the end of the show. We'll be right back, and we'll catch Chad and his routine.
Oh, no, but y'all, I've been married for 20 years to the same woman, and that is a milestone for her side of the family. She, actually, I want to tell you what it's like dating my wife. She was a traditionalist, if I said that right. She, when we actually met, I gave my buddy my number, said, give her my number, tell her to call me. He's like, oh, no, no. Like, no, you got to call her first. That's just the way this Southern gal is. And so, okay, well, I got her number. I called her. Our first date was to see the movie Twister in the theaters. I've yet to watch that movie in its entirety since. Not that I'm scared of twisters. It just brings up bad memories. But our second date, she said she wanted to do something non-traditional. She wanted to come pick me up. So I said, okay, so what time? She said, I'll be there at 8. Well, about 11:30, 12 o'clock that day, my mama called me and she said, I fixed a big old pot of beans and cornbread, got a big old slab of onion. You want to come eat? We got sausage in the beans. I said, you don't turn down a meal like that, being Southern. You just don't do it. So I said, yes, ma'am, I'll be there. What time? She said, it'll be ready about 12:30. So I got there and ate 2 big old bowls of that stuff and ate half an onion. Anyway, about 6:30 that evening, I heard boom, 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 boom in my belly. Luckily, that pain passed. Not that way, but it did pass. It just kind of went away. The only time this woman has ever been early in her life was this night. She got there at 7:50. Supposed to pick me up at 8. She got there at 7:50. Anyway, I'm ready. She walks me to the car. She opens the door. Red flag number 2 was she opened the door. Something should have told me something was wrong, but it didn't. So anyway, so I sat down in the car. As soon as she shut the door, that pain came back with a vengeance. There was no stopping it. It was one of these that went. This part actually takes longer, but I'll shorten it for you. Anyway, she walks around the car just in time for me to sniff and test the air. She opens the door and sits down and says, Mom, Dad, this is Chad. Dad still calls me Thunderbutt to this day. Because that was one of them Garth Brooks farts, okay? And if you don't know what a Garth Brooks fart is, the thunder rolled. We'll leave it at that. But being married for 20 years has taught me a lot. Taught me a lot of difference. I learned a lot of differences between men and women, other than physical. A man has 5 things in his bathroom: toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, deodorant, and a rag. We can drip dry. It's okay. We don't have to have a towel. So we have 5 things in our bathroom. Women, 397 things. A man can't identify more than 10 of them. Men will dress up for 2 things. Women dress up for anything. Go to the bathroom, watch TV, check the mail. My wife dresses up to water the plants in the backyard that nobody sees. Men dress up for 2 things, weddings and funerals. And sometimes they are the same thing. I have actually talked about our wedding as a funeral on more than one occasion. Honestly, it was accidental, but I got to thinking about it, how weddings and funerals are the same. Men, you're single, you go out, you do what you want to do, you have fun, go drinking, go rodeo, whatever you want to do. But when you get married, that part of you dies and is never resurfaced again without the cost of a very expensive divorce. Wife asked me the other day if I ever thought of leaving her, if I ever wanted a divorce. I said, I think about it every day, but I like all of my stuff, not just half of it. But she don't like going out in public with me anymore. We went into an IHOP late one night after a show, and it was just me and her. What is it with the IHOP people when they walk up? They say, how many? 2, I believe. So anyway, there was a group of guys sitting at a table, about 7, 8 of them sitting at a table, all in Civil War outfits. The lady walks up, how many? I was like, 2 of us. I said, but the service here must suck. How long them guys been waiting? So we sat down, and the waiter walked up to us. He said, what you want to eat? And I already know. I said, I want 4 pancakes. I want a big old chunk of ham. I want 5 pieces of bacon. eggs over easy, and hash browns, because I know what I want when I go to a restaurant. I don't know a woman in the world that can say that. So I usually don't ask that question. But anyway, so he brought it, and he's like, are you getting executed in the morning? What the hell? He brings the food, and he says, there you go, Chubby. Throws it down at me. So naturally, when we go pay, I'm not going to leave this dude a tip, right?
Amen.
So we pay, and he sees on the ticket that I don't leave a tip. I just put a line through it. Anyway, he mouths something off, and they got that little microphone, when they call your party of two, that your table's ready. So as he walks off, our waiter's name was Jeremy. As he walks off, I grab the microphone like any red-blooded American man would do in my situation, and I say, attention, IHOP guest. Please help us congratulate Jeremy on being 3 weeks of herpes free. And we leave. But about 2 months ago, I was fighting a head cold and went to the doctor. And the worst part of it was the cough. I had a bad cough. And I went to the doctor, and he said, well, I'll call you in some cough medicine. You couldn't go because of the Rona. If they thought you might have it, you can't go to the doctor, but you can call them and tell them. And then they'll charge you $97 to call you in some medicine for a 30-second phone call. Ain't figured that crap out yet. But anyway, he called me in some cough medicine. Well, I went and picked it up. I took that stuff for 3 days. I could not get away from the toilet. I could not get very far away from it. It just messed my belly up worse than the beans and cornbread did. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, there ain't nothing else that can come out. What is the deal, Mo? I said, where's that medicine at? I said, it's in the medicine cabinet. She went and got it. She was looking up the side effects of it. She said, is this what you've been taking? She called off the name and something. I don't remember what it was. And I said, yeah. She said, that's a laxative. So I called the doctor. I was like, dude, you called in the wrong medicine, man. He said, what are you talking about? I said, you called me in a laxative. He said, what was I supposed to call you in? I said, cough medicine. He said, you still coughing? I said, hell no, I'm afraid to now. I did a big show in Texas, and we went down. I had 2 of my kids with me. Went down there for the show. I got pulled over on the way down there, and cop walks up, he's like, hey, I pulled you over. I was like, I wasn't speeding, I said, no, sir, I don't. I said, was I speeding? He said, no, you wasn't speeding. I said, what? He said, well, your tail light's out. And I was like, really? I said, I didn't know it was out. And my middle son in the front, he said, yeah, he did. Mom told you last week that it was out. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. He said, also, I noticed when you changed lanes, you didn't use your signal. He said, is your signal light out? I said, I don't think so. He said, let me check. And I turned it on. Sure enough, it was out. And he said, he came back and said, yeah, your left turn signal's out. I was like, really? I said, it wasn't out this morning. And my youngest one said, yeah, it was, because I told you when we left the hotel that the blinker was out, And I'm like, if you don't shut the hell up, I am going to beat the hell out of you. And that cop looked at him. He said, does he always talk to y'all that way? Only when he's been drinking. That was the only time I threw 2 kids out on the side of the highway. Right. No, I'll tell y'all one more. I got a friend of mine. He's 7'2", and I'll tell you how we met. I used to work in the prison, and anyway, I ordered all the food for this facility, and I ordered bread from him. And anyway, I quit working in the prison. He ended up went to work with me when we were cleaning up after Hurricane Harvey. Well, people would ask us how we met, and I just kind of reached over and hugged him. I said, prison. And people were like, no, seriously, that's how I meet. And he's like, he's not lying, but not like that, not like that. I was like, he was my bread guy. But people would ask him, how tall are you? And he said, I'm 7'2". Where's a size 23 shoe? So if he says he's going to put his foot up behind him, you better run. So anyhow, we were at a steakhouse, and a waitress came up and said, asked him how tall he was. He said, I'm 7'2". I said, guess what his favorite sport is? She said, football, basketball. I said, no, it's a miniature golf. He's a pro. We're down here for a tournament starting tomorrow. It goes through all week. We're turning. And he's like, no, we're not. Well, another one asked him, different restaurant, asked him the same question. And he said, I said, you ever seen Harry and the Hendersons? She said, yeah. I said, meet Harry. And she's like, well, he's about that size. I said, no, seriously, meet Harry. And So she had her believing it. He about choked on his roll, telling her no, but he had to take a shower in the truck stop. He could not fit in my shower in my camper. And his first night there, he said, I want to go to the truck stop and take a shower. So I'll go eat. So I'll take a shower. We'll eat Denny's and come back home. Anyhow, he had his little Flying J or shower card at the truck stop there. Lady said, can I help you? He said, yeah, I need 2 showers. Well, I stepped up and I said, I thought we were going to take one together. And the lady went, and of course he looked down, and the lady went, he said, two.
Welcome back to the third chair with our guest, Chad Hutto, comedian, ex-rancher, law enforcement, many hats. That was a good joke.
This is the only one that still fits.
Well, thank you for that excellent 10-minute comedy set. We really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Let's go back and talk. You grew up in East Texas on a ranch.
We had it was just under 500-acre cow-calf operation. We had 4 chicken houses that held, I think they were 14,000 chickens apiece.
14,000 chickens apiece?
Yeah.
That's like 56,000 chickens?
So does some lay eggs and some?
No, these were all meat birds.
Oh, they're all meat birds.
We didn't have laying houses. Now, we did have, a little chicken coop where we got our eggs and stuff from. And we had cows, we had a dairy farm.
You have steers too?
We had steers. We actually had a roundup. Used to have a roundup every year. The last year we had it was the year Lucille Ball died. Why that was the last one, I don't know. But we would get.
What were you rounding up?
We would bring all of our cows up to the lot. We would vaccinate. We didn't brand, but we would ear tag or vaccinate, cut the bull calves, and just give any of them any medicine that they may need or whatever, and worm them.
You have hogs too?
We had a little pen with hogs. We didn't do a whole lot with hogs, so we had so many wild hogs running around. So, but it was, yeah.
Now, I have visions of what it'd be like as a kid on a ranch like that. And the vision is like getting up at dark 30 and milking cows, feeding chickens, shoveling poop, baling hay. Was that sort of a part of your childhood?
That was. I never really had to do it at 3 o'clock in the morning, but we had to milk cows at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the evening. We had the dairy farm up until I was in about the 2nd grade.
Oh, wow.
We did raise and harvest our own hay. My daddy put me on a tractor at 2 years old. And told me to drive it back to the barn, which across the place.
2 years old,
across the place was right at a mile from where the tractor was to where the dairy barn was. And I never will forget it. I remember it like it was yesterday. I had to stand up and push the clutch in. He reached over and put it in the gears that it needed to be in. I let off the clutch, and we were like this, And that tractor was lugging. He said, I'm going to ride behind you when I blow the horn 2 times in the truck. I want you to pull over so I can pass you. And he honked that horn 45 times if he honked it once. And I just kept on scooting over, and I run it off in the ditch and got the tractor stuck. And he had to go to the dairy barn and get the big tractor, come down there and pull me out.
How old were you then?
2.
2
years old.
Man, that was...
and he didn't get to drive again till 5.
Yeah, that's incredible.
My sister actually started driving at 18 months old, standing up in the seat of the truck, just steering. He had it in gear, and he's in the back throwing hay out. My mom was standing in the kitchen, looked out the window and seen my sister driving, waving at her. And Dad's in the back throwing hay out to the cow.
I wonder, do you think that kind of upbringing affected your sense of a work ethic?
I believe it did. I really do. My granddaddy and his brother-in-law actually owned the place, and then when his brother-in-law died, my granddaddy, we all worked it. It was mostly trees when they bought it in the 40s, and they cleared all of it out and made pasture land out of probably 90% of it, and kept some woodlands. We were on the bank of the Sabine River, was the north border of the place, and Martin Creek was border of the south side of the place. And so we had hunting grounds, we had ranching grounds, farming grounds. It was a nice setup. It really was.
So hunting was part of your culture growing up as well?
I tell people if it had hair and 4 legs, we either raised it, rode it, or hunted it and ate it.
That's good. That's
or
good.
all of the above. So.
And now in pre-production, we talked about at some point in your life, I assume it was during your days on the ranch, you decided to try riding a bull, or was this at a time when you were much more mature and older?
Well, first one I ever got on wasn't a bull, actually. It was a heifer calf.
A heifer.
And I was, well, it was the year of the last roundup we had. We'd finished all the vaccinations and everything, and there was a kid there that was a year or two older than me that did ride bulls, and he had all of his gear there and with him, and my uncle was like, "You want to get on one?" I was like, "Yeah." So I pinned that heifer up against but it was the biggest bull in the world to me. I mean, I didn't care what it was. He pinned that heifer up against the edge of the lot, and Trent put that rope on, and he said, "What hand you want?" And I said, "Left." And he rigged the rope up left-handed, and we had just dumped a trough out. It had some, we throw some cattle cubes, whatever, in there, and the cows had crapped and peed in it, and they had water and mud and everything else in it. And anyway, they just dumped it out because it was a metal trough, and they didn't want me falling off on it. So they dumped it out and moved it out of the way. And anyway, so I cinched down, and I put my hand up, and I say, "Okay." He turns her loose, and she makes about a half a jump, and I land in everything that they just dumped out of that trough. And I had it from here all the way down. I had a brand new white shirt on, and I never forget Mama threatened to tear my hide up because I ruined that
And
shirt.
that's when you fell in love with bulls.
That's when I got the fever, if you will.
The fever.
We went to same crawfish. We always had a big fish fry and crawfish bowl and everything. It was a big shindig, and I remember laying down in the pond. We were seining crawfish, trying to clean myself off.
Now, for reasons that I've partly shared in previous episodes, I love to study venomous snakes, like rattlesnakes, cottonmouths, copperheads. Did you have any of those around, or maybe not even on your childhood, but even as you got a little older, working in the fields and different places?
We didn't really have very many rattlesnakes. Have to dumb that one down for myself for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't have very many rattlers that I remember, but I do remember a lot of copperheads, water moccasins. My mom was terrified of snakes, and every time we'd kill one, we'd always have to go show her to scare her with it.
Oh my goodness!
So, but I don't like snakes. I'm one of these. If I see a snake over there, oh, there's a snake over there. But if you throw one at me, I'm gonna be gay for about 5 seconds. I'm gonna scream and run.
Yeah.
And kind of like Rodney Carrington actually said that see a snake, he goes through 2 movements: bowel movement and physical movement. You throw one at me, and I'm probably gonna do the same thing.
Now, did you ever? Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one sister. She's 5 years older than I am.
All right, and do your parents still own the ranch, or is that a different part now?
It was just my dad and my aunt, and my dad sold off his half after my granddad died, and my aunt kept her half, and then she ended up selling most of her half off. So about all that's left of it now, my cousin has, and I think it's like 50-something acres.
Mm.
So.
And I know you're married and you have some kids, but I understand that in the 90s, the gal you finally married, you had some rough times and some breakups. How did that work out? And did that have any bearing on whether you decided to pursue comedy?
That actually it did. We were engaged. We met in '96, and we were engaged actually just a few short months later. You've seen the movies where the man or the woman of their dreams is walking across and there's a light shining on them. The first time we ever met face to face, we talked on the phone for like 2 weeks before we ever met face to face. I witnessed that. I said, I'm gonna marry that girl. Well, we got engaged the end of '97, and she left me. I'm sorry, end of '96, and she left me February of '97. And for 4 years, almost to the day, we were apart. And during that 4 years, I was in a pretty dark time in my life. I was down. I was heartbroken. I hurt a lot of people, not physically, but emotionally. I lost friends. I lost family members. And a friend of mine actually brought me a cassette tape of Jay Hickman, comedian.
Jay Hickman.
And Jay was a very raunchy comedian. Jay has passed away, but he was a very raunchy comedian. But I remember listening to that, and that being the first time I laughed since we split up.
Oh, wow.
And it was several months after our split up that was just, he brought that to me, and that's what I use that to kind of help cope with everything, and that's what I want to use my comedy for, is to help somebody that may be in that same position, bring laughter into their life.
No, I like it. That's a noble and a good idea. So we will talk about more noble and good ideas
And
when
then
we
how
come.
and his wife got back together.
Yes, we'll find out how he and his wife got back together, and was it true that he had to borrow a bunch of money to send to her to get her back? We'll find out when we come right back.
My granddaddy and my grandmother were married for 53 years before she passed away in 1995. And he told me, we got married June 9th of '01. He told me June 8th. Why I remember this date, I don't know. He said, I'm going to tell you the secret to mine and your grandmother's 53 good years of marriage. He said, on our wedding night, he said, I took my breeches off and I give them to her. I said, put these on. She tried them on, said, I can't fit in your breeches, they're too big. He said, that's right. I wear the pants in this family where it's always going to be. So I tried that. I ain't saying it didn't work. My wife is 4'9", right here. We got to the hotel. I took my breeches off. I said, put these on. She tried them on. They came up to like right there. She said, I can't fit in your breeches. She said, I can't fit in your breeches. They're too big. I said, that's right. I wear the pants in this family where it's always going to be. Well, she took her breeches off, give them to me, said, put these on. I can't get in your breeches. She said, that's right. You don't change your attitude, you won't never get in them.
Welcome back to the third chair with our guest, Chad Hutto. Where we last left off, he had broken up with his fiance. 4 years had gone by. It was a dark, dark time in a galaxy far, far away. And Chad had learned about comedy and found that it gave him and others a coping mechanism. So finally, we're going to find out how they got back together. And did it involve a lot of groveling on Chad's part? And so tell us about that, Chad.
Well, part of it involved money. It was a lie about money, but actually, no, seriously. We were apart almost 4 years to the day.
Wow.
February 16th of '97 to February 8th of 2001 was the first time we knowingly saw or spoke to each other on the phone. And anyhow, I was leaving Houston, going to New York that next day, and so I had to drive through our hometown to get there. And I stopped and met up with her for the first time, February 9th, in 4 years. And I guess you could say we officially got back together that day, and we got married 4 months to the day later. And have been married, celebrating 20 years this year.
Congratulations.
That's neat.
That is absolutely fantastic. It's good to see that after that, what is it, absence makes the heart grow fonder?
And I tell people, working in the penitentiary and even being in the military, when I was in the military, I was in charge of we call them series. When we first got to basic, I was in charge of my series of 54 people. And everybody, my girlfriend this, my wife this, my fiance this. And I was like, look, I would sit them down and I would tell them the story about me and my wife. And I said, we're living proof. If you love it, let it go. If it comes back, it's meant to be. So
I think that's very good advice. And speaking of other good advice, let's suppose that someone would like to book you. And I'm assuming, first of all, that you would like to be booked on shows.
Absolutely.
You aren't so booked up right now that you're turning down huge amounts of work.
I'm not. I'm in the business to work, and I will. Like I say, I'll do. Kind of like it says in the Bible, where two or more are gathered, I'll be there. You gather two or more people, I'll come talk to them.
Yeah, you might want to check out the Anglican Church, because where they say wherever there's 4 Anglicans together, there's a fifth. But so you're good with the idea of like corporate functions. You've got a general sort of show if it's a real family gathering where you tone it down. You got something like that you do too?
I can do corporate events, whether it be picnics or Christmas parties or whatever, family reunions, birthdays.
How about cruise ships? You ever thought about a cruise ship?
I would absolutely love to do a cruise ship.
Yes, please, if you are a cruise ship, I don't even know who would hire for the entertainment on the cruise ships. We're going to give you some information right now. How do they contact you?
Well, they can go to the website. My website is Cowboy Hoss, Hoss, like Hoss off of Bonanza, comedian.com, cowboyhosscomedian.com. It also, at the bottom of the page, if you do it on your computer, it's better. But at the bottom of the page, it has all of the social media links to my Facebook page, Instagram, the TikTok, and a YouTube channel.
All right, and then you'll just get back to them.
I'll get back to them. Or my email is cowboycomedian@yahoo. I'm still old school. I go Yahoo.
Yahoo!
So, it kind of fits.
Yes.
I tried the Hotmail, and my wife was like, yeah, no, you're not. And then the Gmail, I can't figure that one out.
All right, so you're not a Gmail guy. All right, yeah.
So the good news is Chad's coming back next week.
Yeah, we're going to have him back next week. We're going
to find out who Hoss is on Bonanza. Because half our audience probably doesn't know.
Very good, very good. So we will see you all next week. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this episode with your friends. Thank you. And from Two Men and a Duck Entertainment, we'll see you next week.
This has been The Third Chair. Want to be a guest? Want to sponsor our show? Send us an email. Please subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media.